Some places carry a weight of history so heavy it seems to seep into the ground. In Tasmania, Australia, one such place is Port Arthur, once a penal colony, later a quiet historic site visited by tourists from around the world. But in 1996, Port Arthur became synonymous with a tragedy so devastating, it changed the entire country forever. The man responsible was Martin Bryant, 28 years old. To most people, he seemed odd but harmless. He lived with his mother, lived off an inheritance, and struggled socially. Bryant was often described as childlike, unpredictable, and increasingly isolated. But under that surface, something darker was forming. He had purchased powerful firearms, including an AR-15 rifle, despite having no license and no real training. Neighbors recalled his strange laughter, his fascination with weapons, and his erratic temper. Later, psychologists would debate his mental state, some pointing to intellectual disability, others to narcissism, paranoia, and deep resentment toward the world. On April 28, 1996, Bryant drove to Port Arthur with a cache of weapons and ammunition. That morning, he had already murdered the owners of a local bed and breakfast, David and Sally Martin, people he believed had wronged him in the past. Then he drove to the Port Arthur historic site, a popular tourist attraction. It was a sunny Sunday, and the Broad Arrow Café was bustling with visitors from across Australia and overseas. Bryant entered the cafe carrying a large sports bag. What happened next unfolded in less than 2 minutes. Without warning, Bryant pulled out his semi-automatic rifle and began shooting. He fired at close range into the crowded cafe, killing 20 people almost instantly. The sound of gunfire echoed through the historic site as panic erupted. He moved outside, shooting indiscriminately at tourists and staff. He fired at cars on the road, killing drivers and passengers. One survivor later recalled, "I thought it was firecrackers at first. Then I saw people falling and I ran. I didn't look back." Over the next 24 hours, Bryant murdered 35 people and wounded 23 more. It remains the worst mass shooting in Australian history. The siege ended at the bed and breakfast where the rampage had begun. Bryant set fire to the house, but police surrounded him. He was eventually captured alive, suffering burns. In the aftermath, the nation reeled. Families had been shattered. The Tasmanian community, known for its peace and beauty, had been scarred forever. At trial, Bryant pleaded guilty to 35 counts of murder. He was sentenced to 35 life terms without parole, but the impact of Port Arthur reached beyond Tasmania. Within weeks, the Australian government introduced sweeping gun law reforms, banning semi-automatic and automatic weapons and implementing strict licensing. The laws were among the toughest in the world. And to this day, Australia has never experienced another massacre on that scale. The Port Arthur Massacre was not just a story of violence. It was a story of how one man's fractured mind, left unchecked, collided with opportunity and firepower. And it was also the story of how a nation, faced with unimaginable grief, chose to change, so that it might never happen again.